I'm going to take you back to 1989. I was in my third year at UBC, and the year was winding down. And I was on the hunt for that perfect summer job. You know, the job where you get the mornings off, you go to the beach in the afternoon, you throw a shift in there, and you have time to spend with your friends. You know, the perfect summer job. I was filing through the ads, and I saw an ad for the retail sector for a new company starting up in the West, opening up a bunch of stores called Western Grocers. I head to the recruitment center, I fill out the 100 question document that they requested, and pulled out of there looking for the nearest beach. I get the job, but to my surprise, it was not in the retail sector at all. It was in distribution. I'd landed a job in the distribution center in Vancouver. Now, I thought, great, I was happy about that, and I thought, distribution, wow, you know, that's a big unknown world for me. So, being a university student, I didn't have many dress-up clothes. I had to gather my roommates together, and I borrowed what I could. But what stands out to me the most was circa 1989, what I'd chosen to wear for my first day on the job was this long, white plastic rain jacket with a pair of heels. You know, I thought I nailed it. I felt like $1,000,000. So the day that I'm going for the interview, or for the first day of the job, it's a rainy, misty day in Vancouver, and I thought, I nailed that raincoat choice. I was so happy with my choice. So I arrived to the address of this distribution center, and there was no obvious entrance anywhere. It actually looked like a construction site. Looked like it wasn't even finished being built yet. So it took me a while to find the entrance, and I had those pair of heels on, and I was traveling through the mud and the puddles, and I just couldn't find the entrance. At this point, I was completely late, and I had to get in there to get that job. Suddenly, a giant dock door opens up, and I take that run, and I leap in there. I land on the shipping dock. And I thought, okay, I'm in here. Where is that person I'm supposed to, report to? So I find the person I'm to report to, and within 5 minutes, he basically says, you're not inventory control at all, you're shipping. So he takes me down to the shipping department, introduces me to all the people there, and from that minute on, I was thrown into the world of logistics and supply chain. Now, if that wasn't telling to how my career, the ups and downs of my career would take, nothing would have represented it more than that 4-foot leap up the wall in heels. And I'm sure you can guess that was the first and last day I ever wore the white coat and the heels to work. Now, I was hired as a billing clerk originally, and I had landed this, I thought I'd landed my perfect job. I had the 4-hour shift, the 5 to 9 at night. I was happy. But little did I know that very soon I would be responsible for handing out the pick lists for the workforce and basically staying well past midnight and into the wee hours of the morning, motivating and handing out all the pick lists and making sure all the work was done before the receiving shift was starting in the morning. The opportunities were everywhere, and you could see them almost at every shift. What I remember most was I was developing a lot of really close friendships and relationships with the team that I was working with. And it taught me that through building networks and relationships, it did mean a lot, and you got the work done. Now, when they say from the ground up, I would say that would definitely represent my journey through the organization to a T. In 1989, we just had one store, and we were opening up, stores along the way, and you could feel in your bones it was an exciting time. But I didn't have a scope at all to what Western Grocers would accomplish and where I would be today. Like I said, I was becoming very good friends with the people at work, and we were becoming a family of sorts. We would hike together, play music together. We were all in our 20s, and we were all just trying to make it in the big city. But what I remember most, and my most valuable lesson, and probably the key to me being here today, was that I valued those relationships, and I built that trust and that support system that carried me along the way. Now, a few years had passed, and I was at a UBC at this point, and I was working 3 jobs to make ends meet and to pay down that student loan I had racked up. A guy at work came up to me, and he said, "You know what, you're just about to be passed over for a full-time job, loading and working the forklift, because the work is for men." Now, I would say that was definitely my first turning point in my career. Just like that leap I had to take to get into the building, I had to convince the management team to give me that job. I wanted that job. And I had to be brave to do that. Now, Western Grocers was experiencing a lot of exponential growth with leaps and bounds. By this time, there was extra foods, superstores, and there was, we're opening up new stores all the time. I got the job, but the name of the game was night shift. It was 6 at night till 2 in the morning. And I was loading by myself. I was responsible for all the outbound trailers, getting the paperwork to the drivers, sealing the loads, and making sure everything left on time. It was a challenge, and I faced a lot of fear. I would be loading 2,000-pound milk pallets down slippery slopes into these trailers. Meat pallets, frozen, flowers, fish, you name it. Not every pallet was perfectly stacked or wrapped. Another important feeling at that same time of being brave and trying not to be the girl on the dock, but to be the best on the dock, was that feeling of being supported. All those people and friendships that I had built along the way were there supporting me and motivating me through, a difficult time, and basically, I was having fun. I accepted the challenge, and I conquered it. And I loaded for about 3 years. So I became really organized and super efficient, and I was meeting the managers and the drivers and the vendors, and I was creating relationships, and it was a good fit, and the shift was productive. Everybody was happy. So after 3 years, I moved into planning for BC. So I was basically the person that when all the orders came in, I would take a look at the volume and I would start sorting it into regions. I planned for the Sunshine Coast, Vancouver Island, Northern BC, the Okanagan, and all of the local city deliveries. I'm sure you can all relate to being scared of certain aspects of a challenge. Well, I was freaked out for the first 6 months of this job. The impact of my decisions, and these communities, basically depended on us to get their load to these small communities. I was really good at making the plan work each and every day, and it built on itself. I was in my element, and it was an exciting, dynamic time. You had to take a look at, there's challenges every single day. You had to take a look at the situation, think about all the factors, and in a split second, make a decision and move on. You had about 30 of those a day, just constantly running at you. I soon learned to trust my ability, to trust my instincts, and to trust the people doing the work so that they would trust themselves and trust their own instincts. It was team building without even trying, but it was very successful. Now, I was controlling such a vast amount of volume, capacity, people, and deadlines with so many moving parts. But I made sure with the workforce, I did this with kindness, and I made sure that they knew they were important to me. And that was beneficial, and we created a lot of positive results for the company. I grew up in a small town, and so I could relate to not getting deliveries and depending on those trucks. What I made sure was all the loaders and the workforce knew where these loads were going. I thought it made a huge difference to throw that human element and component in it. You know, if they could relate, if they left a pallet of meat or fish or whatever, like that town didn't get that product. And I found that if I made them aware of, you know, where these loads were going and who these loads were for, their 8-hour shift flew by and they were happy. So basically, people trusted me. They basically left me in charge of every single logistic decision in terms of all the loads for BC. And again, like, you know, I took it very seriously, but I had fun doing it, and, you know, the challenge was amazing. What I learned along the way that trust builds teams. And teams get things done. That's the only way you can get things done and make it through the day. I would say this planning was my best attribute to the company so far. I planned for about 13 years, and I had a lot of fun. In 2008, my life took an about face, and I had a baby girl. So I was out of the business for about 14 months, and that's a long time to be out of the network. Within that time, our business had 2 system changes, and they were just in the middle of merging the operations team with the shipping team, and they wanted them to run together as one. Now that's a serious challenge for a company. I became the assistant transport manager at that time, and my direct boss just allowed me to spread my wings and take the direction of the team. I was very excited, and I knew inside how I wanted to see the team grow. But at the same time, I wanted to develop myself. You know that point in your career where you really want it to take off? This was that point. The days were long and they were rough. I kept my head up and we all got through it. Once the team was set up in the office, I started to hand out some really important tasks that I was always responsible for. And that took a lot of strength from everybody. It took strength from me, but it took cooperation and trust again. So I was trying to build the network between the operations team and the shipping, and that was one of my biggest challenges, I would say. And I did this by hitting the floor. I thought if I stayed in my office, it was not going to make a difference at all. So I talked to everyone on the floor, the supervisors, and I was building those networks and those confident connections, learning about their challenges and seeing what we can do. What can the transport team do to help you? Then once it was all set up, I started going to the stores. I basically wanted to see what our deliveries look like at the store level. I wanted to learn the receivers' challenges. I basically reversed engineered from the store level, the driver's challenges, and all the way back to the plan that my team was responsible for. You know, it was thinking outside the box. I really had to sort of push my way into that retail area, and it was very beneficial. I had a lot of respect for the store owners and the managers, and I developed a reputation within retail that basically allowed us to communicate and change many things that hadn't been changed at that point. As you can imagine, the churning and the power of the supply chain wheel is ridiculously powerful, even with the slightest change. A system issue will delay the work to the floor, and you have this labor force. You have like 60 people just standing there chomping at the bit, waiting to get their day started, and everything has a cost. Bridging that gap with the store delays or the system delays and the labor force was definitely a hard thing to do. It was a good time to emerge and grow as a leader in this competitive framework of leaders. I had fun at it, and in 2013, our supply chain network was going through a massive organizational structural change. I had an opportunity opportunity of becoming the senior transport manager. I was very excited, but prior to this, the team was made up of 7 people. When I got the job, it was myself and 2 others. I was excited, but I thought, what did I just sign up for? Because team building to me was quite natural, and I had done it in a lot of my jobs. I definitely went right back to that team building, and I knew by building these strong connections, that was the only way I was going to get things going and get things started in this new frontier with a small team and a lot of work to do. The first year and a half flew by like unbelievable. We hit targets that hadn't been hit to that point. I studied the numbers and the targets, and I communicated them to the team just on a whiteboard. I just wanted the team to see our accomplishments, to actually see all our hard work. I stayed in my desk, and I moved the team close to me. And there we sat together, wading through the weeds and really becoming a team. This was when I noticed a paradigm shift. I noticed that through all this hard work and sharing the work and working together, that we all had each other's backs. We were all bought in to being a team, and we shared all the positive results. Now, being innovative and thinking outside the box is very hard, and you have to be bold and be brave. In Vancouver right now, I've experienced some challenges with a few lanes that I'm dealing with, and I've had to introduce a new carrier to these lanes, but at the same time maintain my relationship with the carrier that has been doing those lanes for 25 years. I had to do that and meticulously make sure that everybody on every team knew what was going on and that it was clear. It was clear that they were losing this work, but I was doing it to create synergies and efficiencies for the customers. Now, I never paid attention to being the only girl in the room or the only girl in the loading dock, but I paid attention to the big picture of how I should get those goods to the stores. Now, being a woman in supply chain, I've lived through some crazy experiences, worked many, many, many hours. But what stands out to me is that all the risks and rewards were well worth it. I'd like to leave you with 3 things today. Have the courage to stand out and believe in your ideas. Be proud and be bold to trust your instincts, as they will guide you to the strength of who you are. And always keep setting new challenges for yourself. So I know many of you are in the supply chain network right now, but if I piqued your interest to put on those heels and get that white plastic coat and jump that wall and run for the open door, go for it. And to all, thank you. And to all you VPs and managers out there, I hope you're there to catch her on the other side. So thank you very much.